The smell of burnt metal filled the air as sparks flew in every direction. Inside Dock Bay 9 of the scavenger station, Iron Nest, a young human named Kai crouched under a broken cargo hauler. His hands were black with grime, his sleeves torn. But his focus stayed sharp. He had only one rule: get the job done, ask no questions. That rule broke the moment she walked in. Boots stomped on metal plates. Heavy, firm, and without hesitation. Kai glanced sideways and saw a small grease-smeared figure sliding under the next ship. The mechanic wore a thick jumpsuit, stained with oil. Her tools clinked in a belt across her waist. She didn't look at him, didn't greet. Just pulled off a panel and started fixing something that hissed and sparked with blue steam. Most mechanics in this region were loud, lazy, or drunk. But this girl worked fast, almost too fast. Her fingers moved like they knew every bolt before touching it. Kai noticed the way her other hand traced the circuit path without even checking the manual. She was either crazy, a genius, or not a mechanic at all. Need a hand? Kai finally asked, scooting closer. She didn't answer. Just turned her head slightly. He saw a glimpse of her face through the helmet visor. Pale silver skin. Too smooth. Too perfect. Her eyes flashed green before fading to dull brown. Then she nodded once and tossed him a plasma wrench. Kai worked beside her in silence. Minutes turned into an hour. The ship they were fixing should have taken a team of 5 to patch. But they finished in less than 30 minutes. No words. Number. Mistakes. And when they stood up, Kai realized something strange. She didn't stretch her back, didn't wipe her face. She didn't sweat. Even though the engine room was boiling hot, when she turned to leave, Kai caught a flicker of light from the back of her neck. A small glowing mark, a symbol he didn't recognize. Then something else happened. Her suit flickered. For half a second, it changed, shifting into sleek, unfamiliar armor before snapping back to its dirty form. Kai blinked. Did he imagine it? "Hey, wait," he called, stepping forward. She stopped mid-step. Her body stiffened. Then slowly she turned. "Who are you?" he asked, heart racing. "That suit. It isn't mechanic grade, is it?" She tilted her head, then slowly pulled off her helmet. And there it was. Not just silver skin. Not just bright eyes. But the unmistakable shine of a royal crest etched behind her left ear. A crest known only to high command officers of the Illyrian Empire. "I am not your concern," she said quietly. "You never saw me." Then she moved past him, swift, controlled. Like a soldier. Like someone who had once commanded fleets, not repaired freighters. Kai stood frozen, his thoughts racing. What was a royal Lyran officer doing here, dressed as a mechanic, hiding her identity? That night, Kai couldn't sleep. He replayed her words, her silence, her hands, her armor. This wasn't just someone escaping war. No, she was someone important. Someone who was the war. And now she was here. When Kai returned to Dock Bay 9 the next morning, the ship she fixed was gone. Vanished without logs, without trace. But something else remained. A tool, hers, the plasma wrench. On it, scratched into the handle, were words written in a code he barely recognized, ancient Illyrian war text. He stared at the message for minutes, then finally cracked its meaning. "Thank you. You're braver than you know." Kai didn't know what it meant yet, but one thing was certain. The galaxy wasn't done with her. And now it wasn't done with him either. Asterisk the space stations. Control tower went dark at 3:14 a.m., exactly 12 hours after Kai found the mysterious mechanic. No alarms, no sirens, just silence. One moment, lights buzzed softly. The next, the entire bay slipped into shadows. Backup power failed. Comms were dead. Something had cut through the systems with surgical precision. Kai woke up to the cold hum of emergency lights and the blaring silence of dead systems. He wasn't the only one who noticed. Crew members shouted in the corridors. Guards ran toward the hangars, and the main AI voice was gone. That was what made it terrifying. The AI had never gone silent before. He grabbed his jacket and the plasma wrench and slipped out of his quarters. The wrench buzzed in his hand faintly, like it still remembered her touch. He didn't know why, but he felt it would lead him to her. Something told him this blackout wasn't random. It was a message. As he moved through the darkened hallways, he heard footsteps behind him, soft, barely there. He turned fast, wrench raised, but no one was there. A hiss of air. A flicker of shadow. Then a whisper cut through the silence. "Follow the wrench," the voice said. He spun again. Still nothing. The wrench pulsed, once, then again, as if it were alive. Kai swallowed hard and moved forward, deeper into the maintenance levels. Most people avoided that section. It hadn't been used since a fuel leak accident 5 years ago. But the wrench pulsed stronger the closer he got. He stepped through a hatch and found himself in an old generator room. Broken pipes, rusted consoles. And in the middle, standing like she'd never left, was her. Same suit, same grease marks. But now, the armor shimmered clearly beneath the fake shell. The disguise was dropping. She wasn't hiding anymore. "You shouldn't have come," she said without turning. Her voice was calm, but there was pain in it. "They're tracking anyone who saw me yesterday." Kai stepped forward anyway. "You're being hunted?" "Not hunted," she said slowly. "Erased. There's a difference." She turned. Her face had changed. The grease was gone. The silver of her skin now gleamed softly under the emergency lights. Her left arm was damaged, sparking at the joint, revealing synthetic muscle beneath. She wasn't just an officer. She was cybernetic. "They disabled the AI," she continued. "They needed silence so they could move in, quietly, efficiently. The human station staff will be blamed for the power failure, and no one will know I was ever here." Kai stared at her. "Why are you running?" "I refuse to fire," she whispered. "I was ordered to destroy a refugee colony. Children, families. I said no." She looked up then. For the first time, her eyes showed fear, not for herself, but for what might happen to others if they found her. "Now I'm a traitor." "You saved lives," Kai said. "That doesn't make you a traitor." "In the Illyrian Empire," she said, "mercy is treason." A sound broke the moment. Boots above. Doors slamming open. Voices, not human voices. Metallic, processed, inhuman. They had arrived. The Illyrian hunters. She reached out and pressed her hand to Kai's chest. Her armor lit up, scanning his body. Then faded again. "Your DNA, perfect camouflage. They won't expect you. You can walk past them. I can't." Kai shook his head. "I'm not leaving you here. You don't have a choice." A sharp hiss came from the ceiling. A drone dropped silently through a vent. She turned, raised her hand, and shot it mid-air with a pulse of energy from her palm. The drone shattered against the wall, sizzling with sparks. "They'll send more," she said. "Go, now." Kai stared at her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. But as he turned to leave, he slipped something into her hand. The plasma wrench. Her tool. Her message. Her symbol. "I'll be back," he said, dying for the first time. She smiled. Kai moved like a shadow through the abandoned levels of the Iron Nest station. The plasma wrench was gone from his hand now, but her grip still burned on his chest. He could still feel the pressure of her fingers, the weight of that desperate moment. She was more than just a soldier. More than cybernetic. She was carrying something the Empire wanted buried, and Kai had just chosen to stand with her. The main stairwell to the upper deck was crawling with patrols. Illyrian hunters, tall, armored, faceless. Their steps echoed like death in motion. Each carried a neural disruptor, set to paralyze without killing. The Empire didn't want corpses. It wanted silence. Kai ducked behind an air recycler, heart pounding. One of the hunters passed within arm's reach. Kai didn't breathe. His body was covered in sweat, but his mind kept repeating one thing: don't run. The armor couldn't detect fear, only movement. And he was still. Very still. When the hunter moved on, Kai slipped up the side corridor, then into a sealed server room. Inside, the glow of broken screens lit the darkness. He tapped into the backup core, fingers trembling, and started scanning for station schematics. He wasn't just going to hide her anymore. He was going to help her escape. The screen flickered to life. He found what he needed, a forgotten cargo tunnel leading from the maintenance deck to the civilian dock. No security, no cameras. Only dust. It hadn't been used in years, sealed after a reactor fire. But Kai didn't care. If there was a chance she could make it out alive, he would risk anything. He grabbed an old oxygen mask, a portable power cell, and a broken comlink. As he moved back toward the lower decks, alarms began to scream. Not station alarms, Imperial override alerts. The hunters had found her location. They were closing in. Kai ran harder than he ever had before, down ladders, through coolant fog, past bodies of crew stunned into silence. He reached the generator room again and stopped dead in his tracks. It was chaos. The wall had been blown open. 2 Illyrian hunters lay smoldering on the ground. She stood in the center, wounded but alive, her right shoulder glowing from a recent hit. Her breathing was sharp, and her left eye flickered between colors. She held a stolen rifle now, but her grip was weak. "You came back," she said, stunned. "I said I would." He rushed forward and helped her to her feet. Together, they limped toward the service hatch that led to the tunnel. She stumbled, but he caught her. She was heavier than she looked, metal bones, reinforced organs. And still, she leaned on him as if he was the stronger one. "Why are you doing this?" she asked through gritted teeth. "Because the Empire wants you dead," he said. "Which means you're probably one of the good ones." She smiled, even through pain. "Name's Lyra," she whispered. "Kai," he replied. Together, they reached the tunnel hatch. He pried it open with a metal bar. Dust choked the air inside. Lyra coughed but pressed forward. Then she stopped, looking back. Her glowing eye dimmed. "I have to tell you something," she said softly. "I'm not just running because I refused to fire. I'm running because I stole something." "What?" Kai asked. Lyra lifted her wrist. A small slot opened on her forearm, and a glowing chip slid into view. It pulsed with slow blue light. Kai didn't understand its shape, but he recognized the power in it. It hummed like a sleeping star. "This contains every war plan, fleet position, and command override code for the Illyrian Empire," she said. "I wasn't just an officer, I was a command node." Kai blinked. "You're carrying the key to take them down." She nodded. Then, the sound of metal boots echoed again. They were coming. No time left. Kai pulled her through the hatch. The tunnel shut behind them with a heavy slam. Darkness swallowed them, but this time, they were not afraid. They were no longer strangers. They were a team. And now, they were fugitives carrying a secret that could bring an empire to its knees. The old cargo tunnel was colder than Kai expected. The air was stale, the walls cracked with time. Pipes hissed overhead, leaking traces of gas, and their footsteps echoed like whispers of ghosts. But they didn't stop. They couldn't. Every second wasted meant the hunters were getting closer. Lyra moved slower now. Her wounded arm barely responded. Sparks flickered across her armor, and the glowing chip inside her forearm buzzed weakly. Kai wrapped her arm around his shoulders, supporting her weight as they climbed over fallen crates and broken bulkheads. She was heavier than any normal person, but he didn't complain. She wasn't just metal. She was worth carrying. "We're almost there," he said, even though he wasn't sure. His voice stayed calm for her. She didn't respond this time. Her breathing was shallow, but her eyes stayed focused, always forward. Like a soldier refusing to fall before the mission was complete. They reached the blast door at the end of the tunnel. It hadn't opened in years. Rust sealed the frame, and the controls were dead. Kai dropped her gently against the wall and pulled out the portable power cell he stole earlier. He jammed it into the control port and rerouted the system. Sparks flew, and then the screen flickered green. He slammed his fist against the open button. The door groaned, shuddered, then began to rise, inch by inch, revealing the dim glow of the civilian docking bay beyond. The station was quiet here, empty. No guards, no cameras. Just forgotten escape pods used by smugglers and garbage crews. Kai turned back to Lyra and knelt beside her. "We're out," he said. "We just need to get you on a pod and launch." She looked at him. Her voice was weak but steady. "You have to go alone." "No," he said instantly. "We do this together. They'll track my signal. If I launch, they'll follow. But you," she stopped to cough, "you can get the chip to someone who can use it. Someone who can finish what I started." "I'm not leaving you," Kai repeated, jaw tight. She looked at him. Her eyes scanned his face, as if memorizing it. "Then we die together." A sound broke the air, sharp, close. The tunnel door behind them had been found. A loud clang shook the walls, then another. The hunters were breaking through. Time was gone. Kai made his decision. He grabbed her and dragged her toward the nearest escape pod. The pod was old, scratched, barely space-worthy. But it was fueled. He opened the hatch and shoved her inside. She struggled weakly, but he forced her to sit and buckled her in. "You're not dying here," he said. "You're not just code. You're not just metal. You're hope." Lyra looked at him with something new in her eyes. Something warm. Something human. "But you'll be captured," she whispered. Kai smiled. "Let them." He slammed the hatch shut and pounded the launch sequence. The engines roared softly. The pod shook, then lifted, rising through the dock's old shaft and disappearing into the stars. He stood alone in the bay now. No weapon, no armor, just a man who helped a stranger. The tunnel door burst open. 6 armored Illyrian hunters marched through, weapons ready. They surrounded him in seconds. He raised his hand slowly, no fear in his eyes, no panic. Just quiet. "Pride, where is the target?" One of the hunters asked. Kai smiled. "Gone." They stunned him with a flash, and darkness swallowed his world. Lyra's pod tumbled through the dark of space, battered by the winds of silent stars. The onboard systems blinked weakly, barely holding together. Her vision swam. Her arms sparked. But her fingers stayed locked on the glowing chip inside her wrist. She didn't know if she'd survive long, but she had to survive long enough to deliver the truth. A soft alert chimed in the cabin. The pod had reached the outer rim of the sector. A pirate signal beacon nearby pulsed with life. Not friendly, not safe, but still better than letting the Empire track her through empty space. She adjusted the course, sent a silent code, and prayed someone would answer. Hours later, the pod was hauled into the cargo bay of an old mining freighter, rusted, foul-smelling. But run by humans, survivors, smugglers, fighters. They pulled her from the pod with curious hands and scared eyes. One of them, a woman with a scar across her cheek, held a gun to Lyra's chest. "You don't look human," the woman said. "Why shouldn't I space you right now?" Lyra didn't flinch. She opened her wrist and showed them the chip. "This holds the command codes of the Illyrian Empire," she said. "I stole them, and a human risked everything so I could escape." The crew stared. One of them cursed. Another dropped his weapon. The woman with the scar leaned in closer. "You're serious?" "Yes," Lyra said. "I need to find someone who can use this. A leader, a resistance cell, a commander. Anyone who still believes freedom matters. The woman smiled slowly. Then welcome aboard, sister. While Lyra was being patched up in the med bay, the freighter changed course toward a secret outpost. A hidden station where old war heroes and rogue AI commanders gathered. A place forgotten by most, but remembered by those who still fought. Meanwhile, on the Iron Nest station, Kai woke up in a cell. Cold, metallic, alone. He blinked against the bright lights. His body ached, but he smiled when he remembered the sound of the pod launching. She got away. That was enough. 2 guards stood outside. Illyrian, armored. One of them stepped inside and grabbed him by the collar. Where did she go? The soldier growled. Kai looked up and said nothing. The guard punched him hard across the jaw. Blood hit the wall. Still, Kai smiled. You think pain's the worst you can do? He muttered. You should be more afraid of what she's carrying. They beat him again and again. But Kai never broke. Never gave them the coordinates, because he didn't know them. Lyra had gone silent after launch. And deep down, Kai hoped she stayed that way until it was time. Time passed. Maybe days. Maybe weeks. Then, one morning, the cell door opened and, instead of a guard, an older man in a gray coat entered. He wasn't Illyrian. He was human, clean uniform. Sharp eyes. You're Kai, right? The man asked. Kai narrowed his eyes. Depends who's asking. The man smiled. The galaxy's about to change, and you helped make it happen. Kai sat up slowly. His heart skipped. Lyra made it? He whispered. The man nodded. She made it. And thanks to the data you helped her carry, entire rebel sectors have just brought down 4 major command fleets. The Empire's bleeding. You're a hero now. Kai laughed softly. All I did was fix a ship and trust a stranger. The man unlocked his cuffs. Sometimes that's all it takes. Asterisk, the rebel outpost floated between shattered moons in a silent star system. No flags, no signals. Just shadows. But inside, everything buzzed with energy. Screens blinked with battle updates. Fighters refueled. Commanders argued over strategies. And in the center of it all stood Lyra, no longer disguised, no longer hiding. Her armor now gleamed with royal silver. Her damaged cybernetics had been rebuilt, stronger than before. But she had removed the crest behind her ear. She was no longer property of the Illyrian Empire. She was something else now. Something new. The leaders of the resistance gathered around her as she uploaded the final data. Fleet locations. Weak points. AI override codes. She gave them everything. But they didn't just listen to her because of the chip. They listened because she had earned it. She had bled. She had chosen mercy. And they saw the human in her. We launch in 7 hours, said one of the generals. Because of you, we finally have a chance. Lyra looked at him. Because of him, we have a chance. Kai? Yes, she said. He believed in me before I even believed in myself. Across the galaxy, Kai stood in front of a window. Inside a rebel ship. His face was bruised, but his eyes were clear. He had been freed and flown out quietly, under false IDs. No medals, no celebration. Just the truth. And the truth was enough. Got a message for you, said a young officer, handing him a data-pad. Kai opened it. A simple message played. We start tonight. Watch the stars. I'll come find you after. Lyra, he smiled. Then the war began, across the stars. Rebel ships emerged from silent folds in space. Illyrian fleets, overconfident and unprepared, fell one after another. Command ships shut down as override codes took hold. Ground colonies once under heavy control suddenly erupted in uprising. The Empire's grip cracked like old stone, and then, just as planned, Lyra herself appeared before the Illyrian throne chamber. Not through force, not through weapons, but by invitation. Her message had spread, even among the Empire's own people. Many had heard what she did. They whispered of a cybernetic officer who refused to fire, who risked death for life, who escaped only to return stronger. They didn't see her as a traitor. They saw her as a symbol. The Empress looked down at her with tired eyes. "You brought chaos," she said. "No," Lyra replied. "You did, the moment you called mercy a crime." She placed the chip on the throne's edge. "Your command structure is gone," she continued. "Your fleets are falling. Your own people are turning. This war is over. Now choose burn with it or help build something better." The room was silent. Then slowly, one by one, the guards lowered their weapons. The Empress stood and said nothing. But she didn't resist. She stepped aside. Lyra didn't claim the throne. She walked away from it. Weeks later, back on the Iron Nest, now free and under human control, Kai was working in Dock Bay 9 again, fixing old ships with a wrench in hand. The same spot, the same grease, but this time he wasn't alone. Boots echoed behind him, familiar, confident. He didn't look up, just smiled. "You're late," he said. Lyra stepped beside him, armor lighter now. Her smile was real. "You're still terrible at replacing fuel lines," she replied. He handed her the wrench. "I was waiting for you." And for the first time in a long broken galaxy, peace began, not with a battle, but with two people standing side by side, ready to fix what others had destroyed.